What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday morning, episode 151 of Man and Machine here. Did we skip 150 and not really do anything about it, Ben, on Friday maybe?
I think we did.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, happy 151. We got Mark Phillips here of Harvested Financial, our fantastic partner and registered investment advisor. We got a great show for you today. A few different things on the agenda. We will go and hang out in the bot shop. We're going to still talk shop on our shorebow strategy. That's a tough sentence. I don't know. I struggle.
Bot shop shorebow strategy.
Yes. Sally sells seashells, but we're going to get into the building of our short orb strategy, zero DTE strategy on SPX. Directional spread. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to hand it over to Mark, and he is going to give his monthly report from July. So we're very excited about that. We want to make sure more people can tune in here over the next few minutes so they can all catch that. So, and maybe a couple other things, maybe some stocks in real life if we have time. We should probably talk about any economic events that are going on this week that may turn bots on or off, and I think that'll cover it. So I will start the show with just a little bit of, how was our weekend? What was the best thing we ate? I want to hear, because I have one to share, but I want to hear what you guys do.
Maybe we should make it a requirement that we take pictures and then we share. We share our food.
That would be a lot better. And we would be weekly getting disappointed, upset by Mark, because he's just going to come with some 36-hour slow cooked, on the grill, some amazing cut of meat.
All right, Mark, why don't you start us off? What did you have this weekend? What was your prized dish of the weekend?
Well, let me see. I might actually have a picture.
Oh my God.
Why don't you guys go first?
Okay, Ben.
I'm currently down the Jersey Shore, so it's only whatever we could whip up quick. And actually, last night we had some homemade pizzas, like eggplant pizzas. It was really good.
Okay. Yeah, you guys do a cool thing where every group or couple on the trip takes ownership of a meal for the day.
Yeah. My wife and we cooked sloppy joes last week.
Nice.
It was the day off of watching Happy Gilmore 2 the night before, so the Sloppy Joe song was part of the whole experience.
That's perfect. Perfectly timed. Okay, very cool. Yeah, you're not disappointed with anything you're eating down the Jersey Shore. My dad had us over yesterday, Saturday, I forget. But he made slow cooked barbecue pulled beef, not pulled pork, pulled beef, and he served it on top of mini pieces of cornbread. So a cornbread slider almost with barbecue pulled beef on top. I had 5 too many. But
that's amazing. What kind of beef did he use?
I'll call him right now, maybe on air. We'll have him backstage. I don't know, but I need to know because you asked. What do you have a picture of what you cooked? And if not, that's fine, but we still need to know.
I did. I loaded it up on the thing. I don't know if it shared.
Oh, here.
I had a solo dinner on Friday night for myself. My wife was out of town, so I cooked for myself. That usually means I shuck a dozen oysters, put some meat on the grill. I did some lamb chops, did some corn on the cob. Made myself a nice little salad. It's a Grand Cru Chablis in there to go with it all. And just had myself a nice little solo dinner.
Oh, my.
Mark, tell me you're not eating 4 ears of corn to yourself.
I think you could.
I only had 2, but I did eat all the lamb.
Good.
The most important part and what you worked hardest for. Actually, that's not true. You probably worked a little bit harder on the oysters there.
Chucking them, but they're good.
Yeah. So, wow. All right. Incredible meal there. Ben, we really got to step up our game, man.
We do.
And we got to get to Mark's. We got to get over there, man. Jeez.
Right,
okay.
We got to stop saying it and we got to actually do it.
We're just going to show up. You're not going to have much of a heads up. Not that you'll need it. You'll probably have a meal ready. But, all right. I think Mark even, he upped it there.
Let's get into the bot shop.
Let's do it.
We need some music. You want to get some music going? I'll get my screen up. You get the music going. We'll get the part.
Sorry.
Nice.
Right. Not normally a Monday thing here, but it happened. All right. What do we want?
All right. Welcome to the Bot Shop. We are talking about Shorebo. We're going to go through 6 different sessions about our Shorebo strategy so you can learn the ins and outs of the Shorebo strategy. Now, prior to Shorebo, we did this for King Condor, and I think we did 7 or 8 weeks on the King Condor strategy to talk about all of the different criteria that our bots use to place trades in your account on your behalf. So the Shorebo strategy is a 0 DTE strategy, unlike King Condor, which is a 1 DTE strategy, and it is a directional spread-based strategy. And we're going to go over all of the different criteria that we use, or that the bot uses rather, that we program into the bot to actually place trades on your behalf. So feel free to drop questions in. We will be here to answer them. We are live. And then after this, Mark is going to talk about how he's incorporating Shorebo into his clients' portfolios. And guys, feel free to add commentary along the way, so it's not just me talking. So today we are going to cover the entry time. So kind of similar to how we started with the King Condor series. And by the way, if you haven't seen that series, go back on our YouTube page, on our X page, whatever it might be. Go back and take a look at that series. A lot of great information about the King Condor. We'll probably be chopping that up and then publishing that all as one continuous video. But today we're going to be talking about entry time for Shorebo. And we looked at a couple of different variations of entry time, and we'll talk about the Shorebo base strategy in just a minute, and those results there. So we looked at 3 different variations for this show. Now, we chose a floating entry time, and I'll get into what exactly that means in just a second, but we chose a floating entry time for the Shorebo strategy. Now, the other 2 options are having a specifically set time at 10 a.m. Eastern, or just allowing any sort of entry, could be any time late in the afternoon, doesn't matter. So let's cover the pros and cons for all 3 scenarios. So having a set entry at just 10 a.m. Now, from a technical perspective, that's going to be the most simple for us to kind of program in. There's not many more rules that are needed to follow, other than, hey, if we've broken up or below, or then at 10 a.m., then take the trade. So we're still using that orb for confirmation. Now, the problem is, what if something doesn't happen by 10 a.m.? While things might be simplified by us keeping the entry exactly at 10 a.m., we might miss opportunity later on in the day. And we'll see what the results of that kind of look like when we look at the different charts. Now, the middle one, floating entry time, this is what we have chosen, and we've chosen it to go up to a certain point of the day. And again, we'll show you why that could be the case when we look at the charts. But this allows more opportunity to catch a breakout, whether it's a break up or a break down. It also allows us to filter out those false starts, right? Like, how many times, Dillon, I know that you've seen this, how many times have we broken up through orb at 10 a.m. and then news hits or something happens, and then we bounce right back down, and then we actually break down through the bottom of orb at that time. And in those cases, in some cases here, Shorebo could catch both sides of the trade. Not always, but sometimes. Now, yes, this is slightly more complex logic to build into the bot. However, well worth it when you think about all of the benefits that come with being able to catch that move earlier on in the day. Now, you could still miss breakouts to the up or downside later on in the day, but again, we're going to see why that doesn't really matter as much. And as for the trader, now everything is automated, but we always encourage people, hey, keep an eye on your account. Make sure everything that's going on in your account you're comfortable with, so on and so forth, right? So it does require more monitoring if you're not looking at just 10 a.m. to see if you got an entry. It does. If you are curious to follow the strategy, you'll be looking a little bit more often. Now, going into the third box here, allowing late afternoon entries. Now, this is going to ensure that you're never going to miss a break out of orb, right? And also with this logic, with the previous 2 boxes, these were tests done on 15 minute bars, late afternoon, this box was allowing minute bars, right? So it's really whenever we break out of orb, either up or down. So it's the highest, I'd say, need to monitor in that case, especially from a technical perspective. We're taking in 1 minute information versus 15-minute information. But again, like I said, you're going to capture a move. Is it always the right move? We'll see in just a second. But there's, of course, that higher risk of entering those false breakouts or those quick spikes, especially if we're looking at 1 minute bars, right? That's not, in my opinion, that's not really enough of a confirmation to say, okay, well, we are moving in this direction. Kind of want to see, I like looking at 15-minute bars. Some people use 5-minute bars for orb. Some people use 10 minutes. I like looking at 15, really get that confirmation done. And then, I mean, we've seen success with it so far. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at how these different types of entry times can actually impact the strategy. So this is the Shorebo base. Now the yellow line is the Shorebo bot, the green line is SPX. So that's how we compare over the past 3 years, Shorebo to SPX. Now the numbers to keep in mind are the numbers right here, P&L, and this is using $10,000 of starting capital. Our P&L is $18,000 of profit, which means that we ended our capital at $28,000. Our compound annual growth rate 39.1%, and our max drawdown 14%. So a little bit higher drawdown than we see for King Condor, a little bit lower compound annual growth rate. But the thing that I do like about this strategy is there's no overnight exposure, right? For me, I might be fine taking a little bit less of a potential return if we don't have any overnight exposure. That's my personal opinion.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, what happens if we take this? You know, I'm going to pause there. Any comments from you guys? Because I've just been hogging the mic this whole time.
No, that's okay. My only thing was agreeing with you 100%, you know, especially lately in this, what we'll call the new market we're in these last few months. So much can happen overnight and at the open when we spike up or spike down, and it's really hard to control some of these strategies. So yeah, I love having know that I won or I lost at the end of the day on Shorebo, and there's nothing else I got to think about going into the next day. And as you said, I know we're going to continue to dive in here, but just for the people watching who understand, Shorebo in July made $712 per unit on average for PeakBot subscribers, which is a 7.1% return on the preset budget of $10,000. As you can see, that's what we utilize to back test the strategy. That's what we like to build as a buffer to help weigh your portfolio. Of course, not financial advice, but yeah, bot wins about 71% of the time here in this equity curve that we're looking at, Ben. So yeah, love this strategy. It's really been what's gotten me through July, honestly.
Yeah, and we'll see how it complements the King Condor strategy. So that's really good. So now, what if we took this base strategy and we modified it a little bit again to only enter if criteria hits if we only entered at 10 a.m. That's a pretty big change there, in my opinion. I mean, we can toggle.
Yeah, see, that hurts.
I don't like that. Take a look at these top numbers here. Our P&L drops by $10,000. Our compound annual growth rate drops by almost 20%. Drawdown increases, and then just look at that equity curve. I mean, it's better than SPX, but barely, I'd say, right? Like, there was even a period of time where if you were trading this strategy, you're kind of asking yourself, why didn't I just invest in the market as a whole? Big drawdown during this period right here.
I see some churn. That's what I see.
Yeah,
retail trading. This is the game. Everybody's got short expectations is make money now and always.
Yeah, as software providers, we definitely see churn here. Whereas here, I mean, you could take a look at that same time period. We were making some money and then dipped down a little bit. We're flat for a little bit, but then we started making our way back up. Nothing like this mountain.
Yeah.
Here.
quite a peak. Not a peak that we like.
No. So that's what would happen if we only traded this strategy at 10 a.m. So going back to the pros and cons, it turns out the pro of being able to get into a breakout after 10 a.m. is great. But what happens if we get into a breakout any time of day? Let's say we're really tight in the morning, and then in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, we break in one direction. How is that going to impact the quality of this strategy? Here's what that curve looks like. Yeah, this is not a curve that I think any of us would be a fan of. The P&L drops all the way down to about 6,300. Compound annual growth rate drops down to 16.8%, and that drawdown of 28.9%. Now, I know there's some successful bot companies that are out there that are promoting their bots that have a bigger drawdown, but I think their equity curves look a little bit better than this. And I mean, when we compare this to SPX, again, it looks like we're losing to SPX more of the time than we're beating.
And when did it really start to heat up there? When did it start going vertical? That was
right here. It looks like
end of
October of 2024.
Okay. I guess
so right there we had a killer October, November, and actually thinking about it, we had a killer October, November for our PB Condor strategy last year as well. And then we saw that dip that we see here anyway, because it's a similar strategy. Even though it's 0 DT, it's a fairly similar strategy.
By the way, while looking at that October, November with the Shorebo bot that we did build and back test, October was insane, $2,100. So 21% return. And then November was 12.3%. Again, all back tested, but
that's this area of the chart right here.
Yep.
Cool. So between 10 a.m., allowing late afternoon, I mean, I think it's pretty clear, guys, that we made the right choice of only having entries earlier on in the day. And to be specific, there can only be an entry between 10 a.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Eastern. Anytime outside of that, there will not be an entry. There will not be a reversal order. So the floating entry time, of course, going back to the pros and cons here, you got the opportunity to catch that breakout without overreacting to the noise. So you filter out those false starts. There is a layer of VIX built in on the call side specifically that we'll cover in a subsequent week. And then you got less of a chance of missing a legitimate move versus a single time entry or an anytime entry, really. Again, a little bit more complex to build out. It's okay though. Built, we see it working. It's been great. You can miss breakouts that develop outside the windows, but as we saw, those might not always be profitable breakouts. And sure, you have to look at your account a little bit more if you want to. Again, we always encourage people to, but it's only from 10 to 12 on 15-minute increments. That's how we got the bot built. So that's session one of Shorebo.
It's a good one. All about the entry, man. It's a big deal. It's performed well in July, which Mark is going to talk a little bit more about as well. But not only for our retail traders at PeakBot, but also for Mark's clients. Is client the right word, Mark? Is that okay? Is that the?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay. I always want to make sure. Mark, any thoughts on the Shorebo entry time there? If not, happy to hand it off to you to get into July's result.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree with kind of the logic in the opening time. And I think it represents a really good balance of like what we're trying to achieve with a lot of the different bots, right? You want to be selective about when you're going to enter. You want to have a range that, you don't want to be trading all day necessarily in this, but you also don't want to be overly rigid, right? And that balance is really where I think some of the smartest innovations in the bots come through, that we say, hey, we like this thing, but we're not going to be fixed to a 10 a.m. entry. We're not going to be fixed to doing X, Y, and Z. We're just going to surveil for the appropriate conditions within our window of opportunity. And if those happen, great. If not, we're happy to pass. And, we've said it before, but passing is just as important in the bots. But, overall, that sort of balance between getting in when it's right, but not getting in if we know it's wrong is, I think, a core principle of developing and building, successful bots.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Literally, wouldn't even come close. So excellent. Thank you for that wrap up there.
I don't want to cut you off, but I feel like Mark's explanation of things is kind of comparable to his meals. How it's just so much better than what we've got.
Just elevated, man. It was just, we're humble guys. We know.
I'm doing the hard work, finding all these tweaks. I just get to put it in English.
It's why we work together so well. All right, Mark, let's hand it off to you. You kind of take this in whichever direction you feel is best, and go from there.
Yeah, so this kind of new segment came out because every month I write reports for the clients over at Harvested Financial, a monthly kind of performance report where we talk about what's going on in the market, what some of the different bots that they've been allocated to might be doing, and some research and development updates for what we're looking at. So I think wanted to be able to expand that to a broader audience. There's nothing particularly proprietary about it, but if you really want the full detail, you should definitely come over to hfclient.com and sign up. Because, whether it's in the monthly commentary or whether it's speaking individually with clients about what's going on, I love talking about what these bots are doing and what's going on in the options market generally. So this month, to kind of continue with the Shorbo theme, we deployed Shorbo second week in July, I believe, and started trickling into that. We've been watching it for a long time. This bot was in development for a decent amount of time. And, I think it's showing as we've been rolling out, because some of these head fakes in this market that caught the King Condor offsides, actually Shorbo was able to profit from. And that idea is very core to, not just on an individual bot level, we want to think about getting the right opportunities, but we want to think about compiling them all together into the best toolkit portfolio allocation possible, because even though both of these strategies are credit strategies, they can take very different turns given kind of what happened in the market. So over the course of July, I believe the S&P was up just over 2%, just around 2%. Obviously, we know what happened Friday, and that was a little different than what happened for the rest of the month of July. But if we do benchmark it at the close of the business on Thursday, S&P was up 2%, but we also saw pretty mellow VIX action. The VIX had a relatively tight range, very, tight around that 18 level. We saw a little bit of a spike mid-month, but for the most part, vol was very steady. And, if I look at that market, just objectively, slow grind up, VIX relatively narrow, that sounds like a good opportunity for credit strategies. And actually, if you want to pull up, I threw another chart in there that this is just a simple comparison of 10-day at the money vol and SPY compared to the historical volatility. So the gap between that red line and that blue line, higher implied vol, lower realized vol, that's what we refer to as the volatility risk premium. And generally, when we're selling options, when we're engaging in credit strategies, you're trying to take advantage of that volatility risk premium. So I look at this chart, I hear the description of the market, and I thought that must be a great opportunity for just selling vol every single day. Mm-hmm. But it was a little harder than that, like we know for the King Condor, that the King Condor, entered into a number of different trades, and it kind of kept getting caught a little bit offsides. But that's fine. We don't expect to win every single time. And a lot of the reasons we built in those stop losses are to prevent against that. But I think this month of July to me was very much a good example of where you hear these, general descriptions, or you look at broad indicators, and it doesn't quite describe the path and the experience that maybe some of these strategies are capturing. So a lot of those, and you guys hinted it a little bit earlier in the day with the Shorbo, or a little earlier in the session about Shorbo, that, we saw some zags in the market, and, with a lot of the economic headlines and tariffs and, all the stuff that we've been seeing tug and pull the market, that created as much of a delta position as a vol position in something like the King Condor. And so, when you have a short-term market neutral strategy where, you're short the call spread, short the put spread, there's a little bit of a, end of day move, whether it's in the last 30 minutes or the last 2 hours or whatnot, no matter what the vol is saying is happening, if that moves in a direction or jerks in a different direction, that's going to be a tough market for the King Condor. but that's not a tough market for the shortbow strategy. And so getting back to that kind of portfolio allocation concept, balancing these two and getting the right mix of shortbow contracts versus King Condor contracts is very much, a focus of how I'm tweaking the portfolios going forward. And in addition, both, like I said, both of these are credit strategies, but in terms of future research and updates and developments, looking to introduce some long option strategies in here too, and continuing to build out that, quiver of different opportunity capture methods that will get us on the long side, get us on the short side, get us on the short side in a delta neutral way or in a momentum way. So July, while it definitely wasn't the banner month, it was a good proof of concept for how different strategies kind of interact with each other in what was arguably, a calm market, but had some challenges given those sort of, quick moves that we were seeing in the, late in sessions.
Mm-hmm.
This is very helpful stuff. And I love to hear that this level of consideration goes into thinking about how to dissect this tricky market. Again, like to the naked eye, it's easy to look at the last few months and just say, well, the market's going up here. And then maybe occasionally it's, doing some weird stuff outside of these past 2 days, if you will. But very helpful breakdown. Ben, do you have any thoughts?
I just want to know, Mark, you said that you pretty much put this on during the last 2 weeks of July for your clients, right? So that would mean that you probably caught these last 2 weeks, which pretty solid,
weeks.
all things considered.
Yeah.
Now,
losses in July.
July, like this shows, there are a number of economic indicators that might have pulled us out, but 3 wins and 6 no trades in 10 opportunities, that's not bad. Or I guess 9 opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. For July, at least. I think it won on Friday as well. We'd have to check out.
We'll build out an August tab.
August. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Winner on Friday as well. So this strategy does have a little bit higher of a win rate than the King Condor does. But
well, actually, Friday was obviously in August, so maybe I should say this 30 days, but Friday was an interesting opportunity where the delta really mattered to that, right? That when the market rallied midday, our short options didn't look so great. We were short a call spread and we were 20 points in the money at one point even. But because we jerked around again, that's where that momentum strategy will do well. Whereas had we had a condor on, that would have been a little bit more difficult of a position. So, exactly the jerky market of Friday is where one credit strategy performs and another might not.
Yeah. The orb here was scary. We were on it. We were looking at it last minute. We tell ourselves we're not gonna, but you're absolutely right, Mark. Wide, or I think this is the 15-minute bars. Yeah. So wide opening range, break south. We're in a call spread. I forget exactly what our strike was, but probably somewhere.
62.40.
You know what it was?
It was 240.
It was 62.40. Yeah.
So we were right here. And the last, you can break it down even further. The 1 minute bars were getting dangerously close to that strike there. But listen, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. We come out with $170 victory there. So excellent. I just want to
in general why I am very happy to hand this off to a bot, because if I was watching that position manually and trying to make a decision. I'm going to make the wrong decision. I'm going to buy in that call spread at the top, guaranteed. So that's why I love handing it off to an objective machine.
Yeah, here's the last 10 minutes, right? We're like, oh my God, wow. We were really blown by this, not going so hot. Oh, okay, we're breathing. Oh no, it's just a heart attack, man. Traders, I don't know what we're doing, to ourselves.
We just can't look. You just can't look. We can't say that because we tell people they got to keep an eye on their accounts.
Yeah, no, look, just try not to freak. And
that's why you have spreads at the end of the day, and that's why you have stop losses, right? You're not naked short this whole position. You do have a risk. It's a calculated risk. So pay attention, but try not to get overwhelmed.
Keep the emotions at bay. Have rules for yourself if you're going to intervene. Have rules. And
bots have rules. Humans should have rules too.
Yeah, keeps an entire society going. Rules. All right, so we're excited for August ahead. I think maybe this is a good transition into what we've got coming. Ben, maybe there's some economic events this week, anything to look out for. And then I guess generally speaking for August in general, I feel very good about Shorbo. King Condor, typically past results don't indicate future results, but King Condor coming off of bad months typically strings together a couple good ones. So we'll see. And then BenBot, I hate to throw us totally off here, but I'm curious to know if BenBot's going to work its way into any client portfolios anytime soon.
Yes, well, we have a slightly larger minimum there. So we're talking portfolios probably north of the 50K level. I have started allocating some clients in that direction. So, I'm excited about the performance. Again, this was one that we watched for a while, or at least I watched for a while. But it provides that kind of daily equity downside risk. So in reality, it's a little lighter risk, say, than like a King Condor type trade from a pure capital arithmetic. But it's, continues to generate some pretty interesting returns. So I am a fan of the BenBot now. I can squarely place myself in that camp.
Oh, we'll need a saying then. If there's King Com and Condor on, we'll need a BenBot saying for Mark, as if we string together a couple good months here. Ben, I spoke over you there. Sorry.
We'll come up with one. No, all good. I've got the economic events on screen here. We'll go through these, then we will wrap. So today, not much going on. I also took a look at President Trump's schedule today to see not much going on for him either. Looks like he's just had lunch with JD today.
Okay, gotcha.
We will see what else transpires coming out of these tariff deadlines. We'll see what else is going to happen here. Looking ahead to, sorry, go ahead.
I said I'm sure something will happen.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, not too much going on tomorrow either. Most of the events are happening in the morning. And then we got a 3-year note auction in the afternoon.
You're on the other screen still.
Thank you. Yes, not much going on tomorrow morning. Wednesday, a lot going on, but I'd say nothing of importance other than the 10-year note auction, which will turn off Max's 0DTE orb strategy, so won't trade through that. I think we're still going to trade Shorbo through it. The data shows that you should trade through that. So Shorbo should be trading through that. Then moving into Thursday, again, not a whole lot except for a 30-year bond auction, which again is reason for Max's 0DTE strategy to be turned off. Shorbo will likely be on, and I only put those two in the same camp because they're very similar. They're both 0DTE, SPX, spread, directional spread strategies. Very different in the way that they're traded, but both rely on that opening range breakout, which is very, very popular and widely used breakout. And then Friday, we got nothing. So these are the dog days of summer.
Okay. I like that.
I do too.
On many fronts. Okay, excellent. So I don't know if there's anything else for us to cover here. If so, let's wrap. So to everybody who joined and tuned in today, thank you so much. We will be back live on Friday for the automation station here with myself and Ben. And we'll be back here next Monday, same time, same place for the Man and Machine. So thank you for tuning in. And as always, we'll see you at the peak. Take care, everybody.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.